Hello, Alpha Gamma Delta. How many of you have goals and dreams? How many of you feel like every single day you're taking a step closer to getting toward them? Oh yeah, 3 of you. Okay. Actually, there might be 30 in the room. How many of you make lists and New Year's resolutions about your goals? And I don't care what your goal is. Your goal could be to lose weight and get in shape. Your goal could be to buy a house, to find a new job, to get married, to get divorced. I mean, it could be any of those things. But we all have those goals and dreams. But somehow they end up on the bottom of our list every single day. And a year goes by and we haven't lost that weight, we haven't got fit, we haven't bought the house, we're still grumbling at margarita time with our friends about the job we have and the horrible boss we have. We're not married, we're not dating, and we didn't get divorced. Yeah, and life goes on another year. How would you like to turn that around? And turn that around in the most easy and profound way by really focusing on happiness and joy. I'm going to tell some stories, which I love to do, and hopefully by the end, you'll have a few more tools in your toolbox that get you a lot closer to your goals and a lot closer to your dreams while achieving that work-life balance. So to get everyone on the same page, I'm going to share a story that I learned about John Lennon of the Beatles. Now, I'm one of those few people in the world that does not like Beatles music. I'm not listening to the Beatles station on my Sirius XM radio. I don't find it relaxing. But I love some of John Lennon's words. And there's a story he told that he said when he was young, until about the age of 5, his mom always told him that the key to life, the key to success in life, was happiness. That if you were happy, you had everything you needed in life. So we went to elementary school, primary school. The teacher asked everyone in the class to write down what they wanted to be when they grew up. And John Lennon wrote down, happy. The teacher told his mother he didn't understand the assignment. He told the teacher she didn't understand life. So you think about your goals and your dreams. What do you do to achieve them? If you're like me, you tried to work harder, you tried to work smarter, you work longer hours, you change jobs. My first career was in political fundraising. Yeah, I did political fundraising in the 80s. I raised money for Democrats when Ronald Reagan and George Bush were in the White House. We lost a lot. You raise all this money and lose. And then you'd have to find a job because, the candidates you were working for lost and you didn't have a job. Then you'd 2 years later raise all this money and you'd lose again. And you'd have to find another job. Well, after about 9 years of that, I thought, gosh, I don't want my success tied to someone else's electability. So I thought, what could I do? I thought, did I dislike fundraising? Which my mother says, how can you beg people every single day for money, Lisa? That's what she thinks I do. Or did I dislike political fundraising? What if I raised money for an organization like Alpha Gamma Delta? Or I raised money for Michigan State University? Or I raised money for any nonprofit? So I actually decided I wanted to stay in fundraising, and I went to a little university. Those of you from Michigan will know Michigan Tech University. But when I first got there, my boss gave me a list of 500 names. And for those of you of a certain age, and I see a few of you in the room, you remember the green and white IBM printout sheets? Okay, it was one of those. And it was about, those of you who don't know, it was like a ream of paper about this big, I guess this big, and it was probably this thick. It was 500 names, and he said, you know what, Lisa? You got to call all these people. And I got to call those people? Yeah, you got to call these people. These are donors. These are potential donors. These are alumni. You got to call them. So I took the list, it didn't fit in my briefcase, and I went back to my office, and it went from my desk to the credenza to the floor, to the desk to the credenza. I just kept moving it around my office. But every time I met with my boss, he would say, have you called those people on the list, Lisa? So I thought, there's 500 names. Okay, what if I called 3 a day, Monday through Friday? If I called 3 a day, Monday through Friday, that would be 15 a week, 60 a month, and 780 a year. I actually exceeded his goal by 50% by simply calling 3 people a day. Now, it was like planting seeds, like a farmer, a little bit of seeds, and pretty soon people started calling me back, started seeing things grow. They wanted meetings. They were willing to take proposals. They were willing to, make a donation. I was raising money simply by calling 3 people a day. But I had to be diligent about it. Every single day I had to do it. And if I missed a day because I was traveling or I was out sick, I had to do 6 the next day. And if I missed 2 days and got to Wednesday, I had to do 9, and that really sucked. That really sucked. 9 calls, because you can make all the excuses you want in the world, but I had to call these people. And so I sort of took that on as the way I approached anything that I wanted with goals and dreams. So I did 3 things every day. And it could simply be, this is time, you looked in the newspaper for jobs, okay? Still, that was viable. Could be I called somebody. Didn't mean I reached them, but I actually placed a call and left a voicemail. Could be I updated my resume. Could be I created a new cover letter. Could be any number of things. But I had to do 3 a day. So that when my friends or my family would say, what are you doing to find a job? I'd say, well, I did this, I called this person, I did that, I looked at this website. By the time I got through 4 things, they're like, oh, okay, you're fine. Well, the truth of the matter is, and this is in 1999, in 20 business days, I had 22 interviews. And 28 days from when I quit, I had a job. I actually had 3 job offers. I had a job by simply doing 3 things a day. And I started writing some books on philanthropy and fundraising, and those were my first 4 books. And then when I would give presentations to groups like this about fundraising, I would talk about, that list, that green and white list, and calling 3 people a day, and what board members can do. And board members would rush me after, nonprofit leaders, board members, they'd say, do you have that written down anywhere? Do you have that written down? I want to take that back to my employees. I want to take that back to the people I work with. That's really smart. I'm like, no, doesn't everybody take a problem and just kind of break it down that way? Apparently not. So I wrote this book called The Power of 3, How to Achieve Your Goals by Simply Doing 3 Things a Day. Okay, that's the first chapter. Now what am I going to say, right? We got it. We got the 3 at least, but there's got to be something else. So I go, okay, what else do I do? So then it's about tenacity, not giving up. I love the phrase, if you fall down 7 times, get up 8. I have a friend, in my first book, Carolyn Gable, I interviewed her, a very successful entrepreneur. She was a waitress, a bunny, Playboy bunny waitress at O'Hare, and ended up running a big trucking company, owning it. And she said, she wrote a book called Everything I Need to Learn About Being a CEO I Learned as a Waitress. Interesting, but she said she believed life was like God gave you 1 million scratch-off lottery tickets. And say God gave you 1 million scratch-off lottery tickets, and he looked at you and he said, or she, depending on what you believe, she said, in there is a $1 billion winner. In those 1 million lottery tickets I just gave you, those scratch-offs, one of them is worth $1 billion. Would you give up scratching after 532,124? Would you say, no, I'm not going to try again? I'm not going to do the 125th ticket or the 126th ticket? No, you would say, I'm going to keep trying because I know there's a $1 billion winner in here. God wouldn't have told me if it weren't true. She said, I look at life like that. She said, I was a waitress with 2 kids, a husband left me, and a double wide. I should never have been running a company, but it was I had that scratch-off lottery mentality. I thought, wow, that's absolutely amazing. And when somebody tells me no, I just take it as information. I don't go, no, slash my other 3 tires. I go, okay. So my dream, one of my dreams was to appear on television and talk about philanthropy. In 2003, I saw Gene Chatsky on the Today Show between Christmas and New Year's talking about people giving away their money, making donations. I thought, too late. I was never one of those crazy fundraisers that kept my office open in the hopes that somebody would come in and make a donation. I knew who my donors were. And I just started saying to a friend of mine, I said, I'm going to appear on TV. I'm going to be on the Today Show. And she goes, well, you can't just say you want to be on the Today Show and you're going to be on the Today Show. And I go, well, why not? God gave me 1 million scratch-off lottery tickets. Why can't I do that? She said, well, you have to have a video portfolio. I didn't know what that was. And long story short, it took me 3 years to get this video portfolio, the first piece together. Had a piece, had somebody knew somebody knew somebody. I kept following up with people. And the film crew arrived at the office, and we did a piece on December 16th, 2006 it aired. And the next day, I sent the 2 people who were primarying it a gift. And the one called me, and she said, make copies of that tape, and I want to send it to NBC, CBS, and Harpo Radio. Unbeknownst to me, she had never done this in her 20-year career in the industry. On February 1st, 2007, Harpo called. Now the phone's ringing in the office, and it lights up, the digital display, Harpo. The staff is screaming, oh my God, Oprah's calling. What should we do? I said, how about we answer the phone? That would be a good first step. So Harpo put me on Harpo, Oprah and Friends Radio. I thought, oh, this is great. I went to meet with NBC. They took a meeting with me, and Larry Wirt, who was the head of NBC Chicago, told me, no, I'm not going to put you on TV. No, philanthropy is not that big. Nobody cares about it. It's a small part of the audience. No, it's not important. No, I had a friend who started a nonprofit, and it went belly up because he couldn't even raise $100,000. No. I walked out dejected. But I thought, it's information. So what did I do? I went and did my research. Found out that the nonprofit sector is the 3rd largest employment sector in this country after retail and manufacturing. 12 million people work in the nonprofit sector. That's 10.6% of the workforce. It's now considered part of the GDP. Last year, $390 billion was donated. That is more than $1 billion a day in this country is given away. I got my facts and figures together. And I went back into Larry Wirt, and what do you think he said? Yes. Tenacious. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. Don't give up. If that scale goes up and you're trying to lose weight, if, the first date you go on with Match.com doesn't work, don't give up. Be tenacious. Keep going. If you don't get the house of your dreams, it wasn't the house of your dreams. The next one's going to be the house of your dreams. If you don't get that job, something better's coming along. Be tenacious. Don't give up. This is my favorite. Be who you want to be, or remember who you wanted to be. I wrote a chapter in my book, The Power of 3, because it had to be more than just 3 things a day, remember, about being authentic. And here's a story that really happened. I travel all the time, especially when I had all those staff. I was all over the country, and I would get to eat out all the time. I got to eat at the most wonderful restaurants. And I was going to this conference, this seminar about women's voices being heard in the media, the Op-Ed Project. And it was an all-day seminar, and they said at lunch the room would be open, but here's a list of restaurants you could go to, but the room would be open if you wanted to eat in the room. And I love to brown bag my lunch when I can. And we had ordered some food in from Peapod, and my absolute favorite sandwich in the whole wide world, you ready? Ham and cheese sandwich on white bread with Miracle Whip. If I have a choice, that is the sandwich I'm making, that's the sandwich I'm taking. I am going through the portobello mushroom, I'm going past the caprese sandwich, I'm going past all those wraps, please. Give me a ham and cheese sandwich on white bread with Miracle Whip. Cheddar cheese preferably, but I would take American if necessary, okay? Well, it's what I grew up on. It's comfort food. So I made my ham and cheese sandwich on white bread with Miracle Whip. I put a little bag of potato chips together. I had my little granola bar, and I went to the seminar. Great seminar in the morning. Great seminar, about 40 women from Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, kind of the Great Lakes region. And then lunch came, and I went downstairs to get an iced tea from Starbucks, and I came back up, and everybody was gone out of the room. And I was the only one there. Oh, well, this is really stupid, Lisa. You should have made friends with somebody. You should have went to lunch. Well, you probably have that list somewhere. You could run around to the restaurants they recommended and see if you recognize the women. I thought, but I got that ham and cheese sandwich that I really want to eat. So I thought, well, just settle back in. It's going to be a long hour. So I started to eat my ham and cheese sandwich on white bread with Miracle Whip. And lo and behold, another woman came in the room. And she sat down and started talking to me. And I said, when she learned that I did philanthropy, she started telling me about a nonprofit she had started. Her husband was a journalist, she was a journalist, and he had died, and they had never talked about end-of-life issues. And we were chatting, and I said, well, what do you do? And she said she was a journalist with WGN. So when I was, probably about 4 years into TV, and I hadn't cracked WGN yet. 2 weeks later, I get a call from her that she's got the entire hour of the afternoon shift on NPR in Chicago, and could I come and sit and talk with her for an hour about philanthropy? Pretty good for a ham and cheese sandwich with white bread, a Miracle Whip. Well, as better as the next day, got even better, we got a call, and I was leaving to get in the car service we had for me. I was leaving the office, and one of my staff members said, there's someone on the phone named Susan Axelrod. Do you know her? I go, it's probably a telemarketer. Take a message. It was Susan Axelrod. Again, I'm like, Susan Axelrod, is that David's wife? So I text my staff member and I said, is that David Axelrod's wife? And she goes, no. I said, is she talking about an epilepsy foundation because their oldest child has epilepsy? She goes, oh my gosh, it is. And this is at the time when President Obama's still in the White House. Susan Axelrod heard me on NPR, had me come and be their keynote speaker for their organization. I was on NPR because I sat in a room and I was who I wanted to be, and I ate a ham and cheese sandwich on white bread with Miracle Whip. Sometimes we want to be what we aren't, and we miss opportunities. And the chapter I wrote about being authentic is about taking on who you really are and being who you really want to be, or remembering who you wanted to be in order to achieve your goals. I love this because I really do believe when you help others, you actually help yourself. One hand is for reaching out, one hand is for reaching back. Every day, I do 3 things to help the world and 3 things for myself. The 3 things to help the world, those of you a certain age will remember this. I pick up a piece of trash and I put it in the proper receptacle. Those of us of a certain age will remember the Native American commercial, put litter in its place, with a Native American in the canoe going down the river and all the litter everywhere. Now my friends all do that. We're all scrambling. Who can pick up the bottle or whatever, and put it in the right receptacle. Every single day I try to write a piece of personal correspondence. When was the last time you got a handwritten note in the mail? It changes your day when you open the mailbox and there's something there. And every single day I try to pay someone a genuine compliment. We are so stingy in our country right now with compliments, as if it takes away from us to be kind to somebody else. Pay someone a genuine compliment. I also do 3 things every day for myself. I love to have a good cup of coffee. I don't like bad coffee in hotel rooms. No offense, Marriott, the Keurig is not my thing. I like a good cup of coffee. I like to exercise for an hour every day. because that only benefits me. I don't look at it as drudgery. It's like, it's me time. It's I get to do something that takes care of me and my body and my health. And every day, I like to have a really good glass of wine at the end of the day. The wine people, I love the wine people. My aunt is here in the audience, and I said to her, make sure you have wine for us tonight. So we have to have some wine, because I love to have a good glass of wine at the end of the day. I don't know what your three, and they're three little things. You know, they're not big things, but they every day help me get to where I want to be in a place where I can give back and help and make a difference to others. Because I really believe this, by helping others, you help yourself. But then life throws you a curveball. What happens when you don't get that promotion? What happens when you don't get that house? What happens when you don't get that promotion? When all the things that you wanted to happen, you've done this, you've done the power of three, you've been tenacious, you've been authentic, you've followed up, you've networked, you've done all those things, and life throws you a curveball. What do you do? My curveball was I got hit by a taxi. It was a Monday night in September 2014. I was at a board meeting at Wacker Monroe. I was walking back, getting my 10,000 Fitbit steps in, because you know you got to do that too. Let's just make everything hard in life. My 10,000 Fitbit steps. So I'm doing my 10,000 Fitbit steps. For those of you who know Chicago, I hopped on Wacker, and then I cut over to Franklin. I crossed Lake Street, and I turned right, and I was going down Lake Street east, because my car was, of course, Clark and Kinsey. God forbid I move it. And a taxi hit me going 35 miles an hour as I crossed Post Street. I was in the middle of, about 2/3 of the way through the crosswalk, when the first thing I remembered is, why does my jaw hurt? He had hit me on my left leg and propelled me on the hood to where I landed with such a thud that I indented the hood of the car with my butt. And if you notice, I don't have much back here, but it was enough to indent the hood, and my heels indented the hood of the car, and it jarred up through my spine. My head hit the windshield as we're turning, and I spun 180 degrees to where at one point I was looking at him over my feet as we were careening down to Lower Wacker. That's, if you watch the Blues Brothers, where they go down. It's that whole underground system of roads in Chicago. I was looking at him over my feet. I remember seeing the L go by, and everything was moving really slowly, and I had two thoughts. I thought, the first thought was, how long is this going to last? And the second was, how am I getting off the hood of this car? Because I normally don't sit backwards on the hood of a car. I might do a lot of things, like wear a Goldie Hawn Laugh-In dress, right? This is, I think, Goldie Hawn Laugh-In style. But I don't normally sit backwards on the hood of a car. And then I realized he was braking. And I was sliding backwards off the car. So I flew backwards off the car, about 4 feet in front of him, landed again on my butt with my knees bent. I remember feeling my purse on one shoulder and my briefcase on the other. And as my head was about to hit the pavement, I slammed my hands down, so I was very careful of my head not being hit. And that's when he drove over me for the first time. He was going so fast he couldn't stop the car. I was laying on the ground. I couldn't move. He was coming so fast I couldn't roll out of the way. And I thought, this is it. I'm 51, and I'm going out by taxi. That's it. It's not. And for a moment, I thought about all those goals and those dreams and those things I wanted to do. And they were just all going to be gone. So I'm laying on the ground, and he's driving over me, and the tire stops here. The front right tire, the passenger tire stops here. And I'm looking up at the grill. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I'm still okay. I'm still okay. But then he decided to back over me the second time. Put the car in reverse, and he backed over me. Never got out to check if my purse or my clothing was hung up under the car. He was backing up the hill. And I remember that at that point, that was when I was the most scared. because I was terrified. I was splayed out in the middle of a street that I couldn't move. It was dark. It was about 8:20 at night. Nobody knew I was there. And the only person who had witnessed it was leaving. Thankfully, he did stop. And two other men came running in, James and Ryan, who I dedicate the book to. They came running in, as did the taxi driver, and they all started attending to me. James and Ryan figured out who was going to call the cops and the ambulance and the fire department and who was going to direct traffic. The taxi guy kept apologizing. He's like, yeah, nice, but I really don't want to talk to you. I'm crying. Oh my gosh. Where's my phone? Couldn't find my phone. And because we put phone names in now, not numbers, you can't call anybody. You can't give somebody someone's number to call. Because it says Maria, or it says John, or it says Chris. It doesn't say this number. When those of us of a certain age in the room, remember you knew the numbers of your friends and you could give them to people. So they called the proper people, and apparently the taxi driver thought it was taking too long, because at one point he suggested to James and Ryan that they load me into the back of his car and he would take me to the hospital. It just can't get any better, and they go, no, we're not doing that. And then he kept apologizing. Another question people ask me is, was there anybody in the back of the taxi? No, the meter wasn't running. There was nobody in the back of the taxi. So the ambulance comes, Rob and Kate get out. They start attending to me, and Rob looks down at me and he says, Lisa, did you take your shoes off? The taxi driver had hit me hard enough that he blew me out of my shoes, which were Donald Pliner boots. One was on the east side of the sidewalk by the curb. The other was on the west side of the sidewalk, on the sidewalk itself. At that point, they decided to take me to Northwestern Hospital Trauma, ER, which I didn't know what that meant. But let me tell you, ladies, they cut off all your clothes. And my only thought was, am I wearing matching bra and underwear today? Mama was right. Mama was right. I was like, oh my God, did I put the matching on today? Like I'm going to pick somebody up in the ER, okay? So after 4.5 hours in the ER, they kept doing test after test after test. All the tests kept coming back negative. They did CAT scans and MRIs and x-rays, and nothing was showing was wrong. And halfway through the exam, the one doctor said to the other, has she been drinking? And he said, no, her blood screen came back, no alcohol, no drugs. And I say from the gurney, but I was going home to have a glass of wine. Apparently, I didn't want him to think I was a teetotaler. I had matching underwear on and I drank, okay? So apparently that was important for them to know. Crazy what you remember. During the exam, they kept shoving me out in the hall on a gurney under this sign that said decontamination shower. And I kept wondering what that meant. And I thought, that's really odd. I'm under this sign. And then I heard a voice. And the voice said to me, it's all bullshit except happiness and joy. And I thought, I had the collar on, I'm like, who's saying that? I'm looking around, because there's lots of other people in the hall, and there's doctors and nurses, but there's nobody talking. And I keep hearing this voice say that. Now, those of you who know me know that I can swear, and I like the word that rhymes with hockey puck and not the hockey part. I like that other word if I'm really mad and frustrated. But bullshit's not a word I go to. It's just not a word I use. And I was like, well, I know I'm not saying this. Well, all of a sudden this calm came over me, like everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I realized I did a lot of research that happiness are your circumstances, but joy is the state you're in. And if you always live in a state of joy, a state of wonderment, that the most amazing things happen to you, that it doesn't always have to be hard, that it doesn't always have to be difficult, that life really does hand you lemons in the hopes that you make lemonade, that joy is the key to it all. I believe that if you spend your life in a place of happiness and joy, your goals and dreams come to you so much faster, that you're open to receiving. Go out and live the life of your dreams. Focus on happiness and joy. Find those 3 things every day you can do to give back to others. Find those 3 things that you can do for yourself. 3 is manageable. They don't have to be huge things. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Just do something every day that fills your soul and helps the world be a better place. I think we can all agree that kindness goes a long way in the world. Let's focus on being happy when we grow up. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you very much.